Hey, Tony Gasser here, popping in for one of the episodes of the hour series. So on these power hours, I'm teaching for a whole hour. So this is not for everybody. This is not for the people who are in a microwave society, in a rush. Not for the people who really aren't trying to grow in the space of love and relationships and healthy living, health and wellness, mental and emotional wellness. So this is not for those type of people. This is people who every day you have a daily schedule that you grow. So understand that. Today what I want to talk about is communicating with a man. Reason being is because I'm a man. So speaking from a male perspective, I get so many questions from women about communicating with a man. And I think that I need to go back through this, although I've had videos, I believe, touching on this. And here's the number one thing that you have to realize is that a man is a human just like you. One thing that I've noticed is that it appears that a lot of women are innately afraid of men, that a lot of women are submissive to men who haven't earned her respect, her love, her trust, or any of that. And I get so many questions from women that show me that the world, whether it's the world or whether it's just the genetic makeup, has made majority of women feel less than the man. Now, of course, in sacred texts like the Holy Bible, it says the woman is the weaker vessel. And however, whatever that may mean in its context, I see it play out in ways in some women's mind that is unhealthy. And some women will cripple themselves, disable themselves in a relationship, and they will silence themselves and steal their voice. And one of the things that I've seen a lot is the question, how to tell a man this, how to tell a man that, how do I ask this, how do I ask that? And I look at it all the time and I say, the question, when I read it, the question is posed as if the woman is getting ready to approach the king of the country. And in the old days, in certain areas, like if the king had wives and concubines, if any of them left their quarters, their place in the palace, and they came to the king without being called, they would be killed. And a lot of times that's how the questions read to me. And because it'll be something so simple, and a woman will be asking, how do I say this to him? How do I ask him this? And a lot of times it's passed down. What I've noticed is that from the beginning days, when I say beginning days, I don't mean Bible days, but I mean like our time in America. And if you're outside of America, this may not be fully relevant to you. So also understand that a lot of times people from other countries watch the videos and they're trying to compare it and bringing in their society, but different countries have different cultures. But from the beginning time of in America, as you know, women were suppressed. Women did not have a voice. Women could not vote. Women could not earn equal wages. At certain time, women could not work. And for the most part, a woman was seen as the homemaker, meaning the stay-at-home wife, or she worked, in the beginning days as a maid or what have you, as a nanny for a rich family, a house cleaner, whatever it was, a cook somewhere in a restaurant or what have you. Those women in the beginning were seen to be or taught to be submissive and I would say docile, just kind of no voice. Like, listen, he may drink, he may smoke, he may do drugs, he may put hands on you, he may have a woman around the corner who is pregnant and getting ready to have his child, but you just need to learn to shut up and to cook, to clean, to sleep with him so you could keep a roof over your head and so that you can have that income coming in and so your kids could have food on the table. And that was the messaging across the board, black, white, Hispanic, whatever race there was, and it was passed down. And so I see it still today in 2021 going into 2022 where women are tiptoeing around conversations. And the thing is a lot of times you have one end of the spectrum or the other. So you have the one woman who doesn't say anything, doesn't want to express anything, doesn't want to bring up any type of conversation. And then you have the other woman who she has had to put a battery in her own back, and she's had to get so riled up, just so pumped up that she just flies off the handle. So her communication is disrespectful. She may curse with it, she may yell with it, she may go off with it, she may throw stuff, she may slap, she may whatever, and she becomes very irate. But see, that space is that middle ground where you begin to understand as a woman that you are a human being and this man is a human being and that he is not your ruler. He is not your slave master. He is not your owner. That you can, in a time of peace, prepare for war. And what I mean by that is something my dad would always say to me. But what I mean by that is you have to take those preventative measures so that you can address your heart's concerns and things that's on your heart and mind, so that when the situation arises, the two of you have already discussed it. And if the man brings it up, as a woman, you have to be in a place to where you can hear him and you can respond to him instead of reacting. And you don't have to fear him. Now, if you find yourself in a case where you fear the man you're dealing with, you're in a toxic relationship and you need to leave as fast as possible. As soon as you feel that there isn't a safe space for you to express yourself, that relationship is over. You got to take off. And the result is what you see. And this is what happens, and you got to take this seriously. And I know you're going to have people, oh, well, you need to talk about how men need to communicate with women. Listen, I answer the question that I receive, not just what you want me to talk about. And 90% of my following is women. And the reason why is because women are more likely to seek knowledge and to seek personal development and growth. And the percentage of men that do that is much smaller. Men really don't seek knowledge on things that don't involve making money. So that's why when the question is always asked, why is everything for women? It's because that is who is seeking knowledge. And as people who can't get our time back, we can't waste our breath talking to people who not listening. And we've tried that. And I've tried it, and I do several videos for men that do nothing. And it's still all women watching those videos. And so y'all have to understand that. And this is the thing. If you can't get your man to listen, then I can't either. Because I don't have a vagina for him. I don't have a womb to carry his child. I don't sleep in the bed with him. I don't live with him. He cares nothing for me. So if you can't get him to listen, I can't get him to listen either. So this is what you got to understand, is that this right here is important for the women that's asking these questions and that's seeking this type of knowledge, because that's where the power lies. That's where the influence lies. That's why I titled my last book with my wife, A Woman's Influence, because A woman has way more influence than we in society give credit for. So that's what you have to understand. Now, when you come into this situation and you find yourself where you see you don't want to be the person that says nothing, and then you don't want to be the woman that flies off the handle. You have to come to a place that you realize that you can present the cares of your heart and your concerns, and you could talk about this, and if he comes to you, you can respond to him without reacting, without flying off the handle, without breaking down in tears, without, going crazy. You have to find a place where you can be cool, calm, and collected. And what I was getting ready to say before I went off on a tangent is, y'all got to realize on these I don't use notes because I need to be in the flow of the spirit. I can't be reading notes and coming back. So when I look away, I'm not reading a note. I'm not looking at anything. I'm just resetting my vision so that I'm not staring right at this little thing for 60 minutes straight. And so this is what you have to understand. The man we just saw on the news with them things sticking up on his head, it was a black male, and he was in the court of law, and he decided to defend himself. And I believe, I didn't look too deep in it, but I believe he murdered a woman and her kids, I think it was. And I was seeing the clips, and they let him defend himself, and they showed them clips over and over because they really wanted to give a black eye. And it really was a black eye to black males. And I saw that clip more than I see something of the young male who goes into the school and does what he does. And seeing this man in this court of law screaming and hollering was scary. And he absolutely crazy. And this is the thing with women being disempowered, is that as a woman, if you come in and you see this man as your God, and you see him as your ruler, and you see him as your controller, and you don't pay attention to the red flags, you don't pay attention to the signs, and you don't remove yourself immediately when you see that this man is not reasonable, that could be the end result. And so when we lose people, when we lose women to those kind of situations, we can't let that be in vain. Like, you gotta take a lesson from that. And I always say, recognize crazy early, because there is such a thing as a crazy person, meaning someone who has lost their mind. And be it from drugs or from trauma or just degeneration in the brain. And y'all forgive me, I use my own words, and so sometimes the words not in dictionaries, but you have to use context clues to know what it means. And so what will happen is you will see there are many men and women with mental health issues who are being reinforced and coddled in a relationship. And so what you have to understand is that as a woman and dealing with a grown man, communication is non-negotiable. You cannot negotiate over whether he will or won't communicate. You cannot negotiate over how he will communicate. You have to have clear and direct boundaries for communication. And what I mean by that is not addressing issues and problems in public. If the man or the woman does that, either side, you out of line, you out of order, you wrong, and you have to do that behind closed doors. It is very toxic and abusive to address family matters, internal business, anywhere outside of the home. It is very disrespectful and toxic and abusive to address family matters, family business in front of children, to where you may be yelling or cursing in front of children. These things are non-negotiable. You cannot negotiate on this, because the communication style of a person will show you where their mental is at. It'll show you if this person is emotionally intelligent or if this person is out of their mind and can do something to harm you. These signs will show up. You'll see these in the first 6 months to 12 months, 9 out of 10 times, typically. Sometimes it'll come out of nowhere. But even when I saw this gentleman with his hair, to wear his hair like that, to grow his hair like that. And do you know what? I took my youngest son to Chuck E. Cheese, and I saw a woman with her son and she let her son, who probably was between the ages of 10 and 13, wear the same hairstyle as this man who just got these 3 life sentences or whatever he was sentenced to. The same hairstyle. I say, come on now, sister. Come on, sister. You see, this man is a murderer on TV with this hairstyle, and you finna let your son go into the world with this man hairstyle? Come on now. He couldn't wear. He couldn't wear a little baby hairstyle. He couldn't wear Dirk hairstyle. Is there anybody else hairstyle your son could wear, ma'am? I wanted to approach her and say, ma'am, don't do this to your son. We are judged by our appearance. They're gonna look at who do we look like in the media, and they're gonna judge us without even asking us a question. And you could get a lower grade on your test just because how you look. You got to understand that. And you can't be so self-righteous and feeling like you finna fight a war over just a hairstyle. It's not that serious. Like, because your hair should not define you. So we have to really think about these things. And that's a little side lesson. But this is what I'm starting to see. Is I'm seeing women submitting to men who are not men, afraid of men who are not men, who are bowing down to men and serving and worshiping and slaving for and staying with men who are not men. And this also, although the title seems like it's for a woman, this also for the men, because the men getting some act right in here to know that you're not a man. If you don't know how to talk to a woman, how to sit down and have an adult conversation, listen, no yelling. I talk about it in the other book, Make It Work, on the communication rules. It's a whole chapter on communication rules. If you have not got the book, it's an audio book too if you don't like to read. What they say, if you want to keep something from a black man, put it in a book. I heard that saying before, and that was true for me because I didn't like to read books. But I listen to audio books. So if you don't like to read, it's an audio book of this too. And the communication rules, I can't remember if it's 14 of them or if it's 22 of them. Actually, let me go on in here. and find them. So we're gonna arguing isn't communication, page 123. So here you go now. I'm finna take you through these here rules of communication. Number 1, wait 1 to 24 hours before addressing an issue. Now see, these communication rules that I put together, that I grabbed from different places in my life. This is one I learned from behavioral science. Waiting 1 to 24 hours before addressing an issue. And what I mean by that is you want to come to a place to where when you find something out, when it's something that need to be addressed, if you just, as soon as it hit your mind, you roll off your tongue, you most likely going to be irate. You're most likely going to be out of order. You're most likely going to be disrespectful. You need to give yourself an hour to 24 hours to process your thoughts, to take deep breaths, to cool down, to think about it from different angles so that you can look at it and say, okay, is this worth bringing up? Is this my insecurity? Is this my past? Is this my pain that I'm not doing the work? That I don't have a life coach on my mentor.life that I'm talking to weekly and doing the work? Am I speaking from the pain that I'm refusing to address? This is what you get to figure out in this 1 to 24 hours. The next one is have a discussion in a private setting. I just said that. See how this stuff be in my head, but I ain't even remember I wrote that. You need to have this in private because you don't want to talk about something. And I heard this recently. A lady sent me a message and she had an issue that she wanted to address with the man. And he said, okay, we're going on a date. We'll address it there. That's a no-no. You never want to address in-house business in public, because the next thing you'll know is you will be at the table crying, or you'll be at the table yelling, or you'll be at the table fussing and fighting, or you'll be at the table cutting eyes, and you never want to do that. Me and my wife was just in the Maldives, and we was laying out at the beach, and a couple beside us was arguing. And I was like, y'all come way over here to the Maldives. It take 30 hours of flying to get here. And y'all come here on this beautiful beach to argue? What in the world? What in the world? I was blown away. And I whispered to my wife, I said, the couple next to us, they have an argument. I said, you see what I'm talking about? You see what normal couples be going through? I say that's what I'm trying to get to another level. That's why I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be normal. The next one, number 3, is use I feel messages. Now I got that one from, I believe, Stephen R. Covey. In the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I believe. It could come from somewhere else. But when you use I feel messages, what you are eliminating is the messages of you always do this, you never do this, because that breaks down the conversation. Because that person, your spouse or your partner, could probably at least identify one time that they did what you said they never do. You never tell me how you feel. When you say that, then he's going to be like, what? So on July 3rd, 2016, I didn't tell you how I feel, because I remember vividly, because that's my grandma's birthday. That's literally my grandma's birthday. That's my wife and granddaddy's birthday too. That's a date. This was in my head. Because I remember that I sat there and I told you how I feel. And so now you like, hold on, man. It's 2021. That's 5 years ago. Yeah, but still, you said I never. That's why you use I feel statements, because it's harder for a person to argue with how you feel. When I tell you I feel like you take me for granted, all she could say is, that's not true. I don't take you for granted. I really appreciate you. I said, I feel like you take me for granted. This is how I feel. This is how you make me feel. See, it's hard for a person to argue with your feelings, but when you just accusing them and you say, you take me for granted, now you accusing them. Now you sentencing them. Now you laying it on them, and they're like, hold on, no, that's not true. I don't take you for granted. But when you say I feel like, now they have to say, well, why do you feel like that? Well, whenever I do nice things for you, you barely say thank you. Like you never, you don't want to say never. The last time you reciprocated was July 3rd, 2016. You see what I mean? So now when you tell them that you feel like, now they have to inquire within. And now you get to express what he or she is doing that makes you feel that way. And now, yes, your partner is most likely going to argue that that's not true and they don't do that. And that is a defense mechanism. And so you have to stand your ground and say, listen, I'm telling you how I feel. I understand that I'm not perfect and that I make you feel certain ways, and I want to hear about that. I want to hear about that because I want us to work through this and I want us to get this right. Now, see, listen, if you're dealing with somebody, and this video directed to women, but it go both ways, so understand that while you hearing this. But if you're dealing with somebody who always shuts down, who they refuse to work through the issue, they shut down and they give you a silent treatment, or they walk away from the conversation, they ignore it, they walk away from it, and they refuse to do the work, that relationship is over. You got to leave. Point blank, period. Communication to a relationship is like oxygen to life. What is life without oxygen? Death. What is a relationship without communication? A dead relationship. You have to understand that. All right. Now, number 4, seek to understand, then be understood. This is a lesson I picked up, I think, from Stephen R. Covey as well. Now, but what I learned with this, and I started to implement this in my life, just as I was changing my life. What I learned with this is when I took the time to understand where my wife was coming from, I didn't feel the need as much to be understood, because by looking at it from her perspective and by walking a mile in her shoes, it made perfect sense to me. So you have to, in your communication, seek to understand, then be understood. And what I mean by this is also, like, as a woman, when you're communicating with a man, when you seek to understand, what I mean by that is you look at his dad and who his dad is, who his dad was. If his dad was his dad there? Was his dad absent? Was his dad a good father? Was his dad a toxic father? Was his dad a drug addict? Was his dad an alcoholic? Was his dad abusive? You look at that. You look at his mom, ask the same questions. You look at his city where he was raised, his neighborhood, his environment, his elementary school, his middle school, his high school, his college, his fraternity, his work industry, how he makes a living. You look at all of these things, his friend group, his habits. Does he get high? Does he get drunk? Does he curse like a sailor? Drink like a fish, smoke like a chimney, sleep around like an orange star? You look at these things, and this is where you seek to understand who he is. And when you understand who he is, that will then help you understand his communication style or the lack thereof. And that helps you develop your plan of approach on how you're going to approach this situation. If you need a professional, go to mymentor.life. Take turns talking. See, the thing about it is, it's one thing that every man requires, and that's respect. If a man feels disrespected, you writing yourself a check that you will not be able to cash. If a man feels disrespected, the revenge will be brutal. It will be brutal, and it will be relentless. It will be never ending. So men cannot deal with disrespect. As a woman, you are going to pay a grave price for disrespecting a man. If you feel the need that you need to disrespect him, then you don't need to be with him. And so now all the women in the peanut gallery say, well, these men make us disrespect them. They shouldn't be doing things to make us disrespect them. You shouldn't have to lose your class just because someone else lost theirs. You shouldn't stoop to his level just because he refuses to elevate to yours. That means the relationship is dead. The relationship is over. Keep your class, get your bag, and go on about your business. And stop making excuses to be ghetto and trashy. Just because he ghetto and trashy. If he is a low class, low value, nasty, unraised man, let him be that. And go on about your business. Point blank, period. Get the t-shirt on www.tonygaskinstore.com. So you take turns talking, so you express yourself. If he cut you off, can I finish, please? Please let me finish. When you're talking, I'll let you talk. Please let me finish. That's non-negotiable. If he continued to cut you off, he continued to yell, he continued to disrespect, end of conversation, end of the relationship. Point blank, period. These communication rules are non-negotiable because it's the only way your relationship is going to succeed. You take turns talking. Just like when you're in the court of law, this is the court of love. In the court of law, you don't get to over-talk each other. The plaintiff get to talk, the defendant get to talk. And then when they talk, the judge get to talk. Everybody take turns talking. Ain't nobody over-talking nobody. If you got an objection, you will politely object, but you hold that thought until it's your turn. If you need a judge, that means you need a life coach. That means y'all can have a couple session and you have the life coach on the phone and the life coach is the judge and say what the judge says, overruled or withstand or withheld, whatever they be saying. That's what the life coach does. Hold on, John. Lisa's still talking. Okay. All right, let Lisa talk. Okay. If these things cannot be adhered to, you don't have a relationship. Because if you don't have communication, you don't have a relationship. Next is remain seated. Remain seated. See, I forgot about that little one now. Because think about this. When you stand up, you ready to fight. See, ain't nobody sitting down fighting. But when you stand up and you looking down on somebody, that's a fighting posture. So when you talking, for one, it's going to keep you level. It's going to keep your energy level. You sitting down, so your brain is saying calm. Your brain is saying down. Your brain is saying rest. Your brain is saying relax. When you stand up, your brain is saying we got to go. We going to work. We finna get busy. So you remain seated when you're communicating. See, the mistake that happens, and this what a lot of women don't realize. What a lot of women don't realize is you being tough, you acting tough. You you don't wanna do that. I'm tired of that. That's why I don't even like your I'm sick of you. When you go to doing that, you lose everything. You lose all his respect. He fall out of love if he was in love, because now you got irate. So while you may feel good because you getting you a release and you think he deserve it, that's going to ruin the relationship. It's going to break the relationship down. It's going to make it more toxic. It's going to make him cheat more. He finna cheat more because he don't have any respect for you. And he see that he can get you out your zone. He can get you out your element. He could trick you out your spot. Then he know he got control over you. So for a grown boy, that's like blood in the water for a shark. He gonna see I control you. Because anybody who make you lose your cool, they control you. When I do business with a company, when I get wronged in business, I used to be irate. I used to yell, I used to threaten, I used to raise my voice, and wouldn't much get done. But I changed my approach. And I go in there now and I sit down with the head person and I talk to him. I say, listen to me. Today your date with destiny. And I'm going to give you a choice. I'm gonna blow up this whole organization, this whole thing you got going on. It's about to go viral in cancel culture. Because what you did is unacceptable. And I'm gonna need this made right. Mr. Gasson, what you need? Let me tell you what I'm gonna need. Oh, sir, we're not gonna be able to do that. Listen to me, sir. Many a men have thought this was a threat. I'm here to tell you today, this a guarantee. Woo! Boy, listen. Anything I want, I'm walking out there with it. Because people don't respect you when you loud and yelling and fussing, hollering. It get them a reason to call the police on you. It get them a reason to write you off as crazy. It get them a reason to write you off as irate. But when you cool, calm, and collected, that means you can conquer a city. That's from the Holy Bible. You hear me? Listen to me now. Do not yell. Did I say that? We said that earlier, but that's what essentially I was just talking about. Do not call names. Now see, this is the thing. In our society, we so quick to use the N word. We so quick to use the B word. We so quick to use all kind of, never call somebody outside their name. Call them by their first name, by their government name at the worst. Because you may normally refer to them as boo or babe or hun or sweetie or love or whatever your name is, or Pookie, Bear, whatever their nickname is. When you extremely upset, at the worst you should do is call them by their government. When you call them by the government, that's like cursing. If you normally use a term of endearment for them, that's all the cursing you got to do. They government. John, listen to me. John, why you calling me John? That ain't what you call. You call me J-Boy. Now you calling me John? John, listen. Okay? When you do that, now he know you mean business. Now he know you mean business. Vice versa. Do not curse. It's hard. It's hard for a lot of people today because I realize now, I'm like, man, am I the only person that don't curse? I'm like, man, I sure would like to meet somebody else that don't curse. My wife don't curse because I don't curse. But I could guarantee if she wasn't with me, she'd be dropping some words. Because everybody in her family curse. Everybody in my family curse. Especially if they get mad now. Especially if they get mad. But I don't curse. But this is something that there's power in not cursing. Because a curse word is a filler word. A curse word comes from a weak emotion. It comes from anger or it comes from ignorance. So when you practice not cursing when you're communicating, notice this whole video I have not said a curse word. When you notice, most life coaches and speakers and authors who teach in videos use curse words. That is a weakness because it's a filler word. Because in that moment, you lack the vocabulary to express what's on your mind. I learned that in the Malcolm X movie when he was in jail, getting converted. And that stuck with me. I was a little boy when I heard that. That thing stuck with me. And I said, I want to take the time to properly articulate myself and to find the words to express what's on my heart without using filler words like curse words. And so we've been led to believe that cursing means you're authentic and cursing means you're honest and that cursing is a good thing. That is all hogwash. That is just a part of the media's agenda to desensitize us from our behavior, which makes us easier to control. When you lack self-control, when you lack the ability to control your thoughts and to control what comes out of your mouth, you lose control in the other areas of your life, and now you are more susceptible to respond to the ad that you see on Facebook, to respond to the ad that you see from the restaurants, from the clothing store, to respond to the orders and the instructions that you receive in life in the areas of consumerism, because you lack control, you lack self-control, and it's all just a brain manipulation tactic. But see, when you are cool, calm, and collected, when you're processing your emotions, you're processing your thoughts, and you processing your words so that you can properly articulate without using filler words, that is when you are powerful. That is when you have clarity. That's when you can speak from a place of strength and confidence, not weakness and insecurity. Now think about this now. As you listen to me talking, you don't hear me saying a lot of filler words like, and, because I'm processing my thoughts. And before it comes out of my mouth, I hear it in my mind. And even though it's a split second, I'm hearing every word that's coming out of my mouth is being said in my mind before it comes out of my mouth. And that is how I can speak without cursing and without filler words like and like and and whatever, and all the different words that you'll hear in man and the N word and the B word, all these words that you hear us use when we're just talking. And even like if you watch an interview of an athlete, he's talking to a woman, and after every sentence he says, man, man, it just was real hard, man. Just the game we played, man. We just got a team of just dogs, man. You just, like I said, you just got to understand, it's like, man, the way we do is like, man, this is what we're about, man. And he talking to a woman, but he has practiced not speaking correctly, not articulating his thoughts and his feelings that man and are his filler words. And he overuses them. And instead of taking a breath, taking a beat, taking a moment, he uses that filler word in the place of the breath. And this is what happens in communication. And this is why we yell. This is why we call names. This is why we curse. When you eliminate these things, now you can have constructive communication that is effective to where you know what you need. You know what you need to express. Your partner knows what he or she needs to express. You express, he or she expresses, you both receive, then you can get up and take action. Because the communication was clear, without standing, without yelling, without name calling, without cursing, without talking over each other. See how all of these communication rules come into play? 10. Listen to the other person. Now, I said take turns talking, but that's different. That was number 5. Number 10 is listen to the other person. It's different than hearing somebody and listening to somebody. So when you are listening with the intent to change your action. You're listening with the intent to understand and then to do what you're being asked to do. If it is fair, reasonable, respectable, understandable, if the man is telling you, hey, in order for you to keep me faithful, you're going to have to start giving me threesomes. That's an absolute no-no. That's not what I'm talking about. So you always understand that although we should be listening and receiving in communication, and then we're taking action, which we'll talk about, it can't be something, you can't be asked something that goes against your morals and your beliefs. That's not what healthy communication is. That's not what a healthy relationship is. So don't confuse that. Number 11, respond instead of reacting. See, when I was just talking on the floor, I ain't have my book open here, which I never do this. I think this is my first time ever teaching from my book, but it just happened to be sitting here today because I leave these on my desk anyways. And I talked about this respond instead of reacting. And I learned this from Zig Ziglar when I was changing my life at 23 years old. And Zig used the analogy and he said, a response is positive and a reaction is negative. And he said, the way I learned that is when I went to the doctor. He said, I went to the doctor, had an illness, they issued some medicine. When you come back, the doctor says your body's responding to the medicine. That means it's good. Your body is responding to the medicine, meaning the medicine is doing what it's supposed to do. When you go to the doctor and the doctor says your body is reacting to the medicine, that's a negative, because now it's having an adverse effect on your body and it's not doing what it's intended to do. So a response is positive, a reaction is negative in this teaching, in this context. So to respond means you have sought to understand. You are taking your turn to talk and you're doing everything listed. Remaining seated, you're not yelling, you're not calling names, you're not cursing. This all constitutes a response. A reaction, that ain't true, and I'm tired of this. You know what? I'm sick and tired of this man. All this shit. Ah! And this how we be. That's how we be in relationship. We flying off the handle, we yelling, we cursing, we punching walls, we going off. The kids be there, other people be there, and we don't be caring. Your relationship dead, your relationship over. If you can't get past that, your relationship is over. It's that you wasting every second of your life in that toxic relationship. If you can't learn to communicate better than that, you are wasting your life away. You are wasting your life away. You will have lived and died with no purpose if that's the kind of relationship you're in. That is a waste. That is an absolute waste. You can't live like that. Number 12, accept responsibility for your actions. Apologize for the role you played. Don't put an if, and, or but in your apology. Apologize from your heart without attaching an excuse to it. I needed to read that one. Read that description now. Now this from a book, Make It Work. If you didn't know, y'all need to start reading now. Y'all need to start reading. The game for life is in people books. The whole game for life. You piece it all together, your life gonna change and go to the next level. Trust me when I tell you now. This is what I had to do. I had to get that knowledge from different people walks of life, different people lessons. That's why you hear me quoting Stephen R. Covey and Zig Ziglar and so on. And behavioral science, which I was working in a group home as a counselor in a group home. And we had to study behavioral science from the behavior analysts. They would teach us these different tactics to work with the clients who had, developmental issues. So this is what you got to understand. This is where these things come from, where you piece this stuff together in your life. So when you accept responsibility for your actions, this is very hard to do. It's one of the hardest things you're going to do. And this is what every man needs to do. Every woman needs to do. We have to get to the place to where we can say, you know what, you're right. I haven't been listening to you. I haven't been giving you undivided attention. I apologize for that. And I'm going to make a change and I'm going to do better in that area. Understand that. Number 13, keep the conversation private. This one is a big one. This is a big one, and I believe we all have made this mistake. Telling your dad, telling your mom, telling your best friend, telling your grandmother, telling your brother, telling your sister, telling your coworker, telling social media through a subliminal quote that you posting, misusing my quote to send a message to your whole friend base on Facebook or Instagram that you and your loved one is in an argument and this quote is your side of the argument, and then y'all stay tuned because their side of the argument coming later with their quote, and y'all arguing back and forth with quotes, and everybody who know y'all just sitting there reading the quote. Ooh, she hit him with that one. Ooh, she came with that. He done reposted the man video who be sitting in the dark with stuff spinning on the desk. Woo, this thing get good. Now, what she finna say? 2 days later, Facebook status changed. No longer in a relationship. Keep the conversation private. You don't sit there and go back and forth with each other, telling people business. So I used to make that mistake. My wife used to make that mistake. I feel like every human makes that mistake. We have to develop the emotional intelligence that The only place we take that conversation, if we absolutely need to get it off our chest, is to a professional. Because with this professional, it's confidential. It stays with them. Yeah, that'd be great. But it's in her name. Okay, cool. All right. Like, and so you have to understand that. And I forgot what I was saying. My wife interrupted my video, asked me if I want a coffee. So yeah, everything I was saying has been forgotten. Thank you. But we got 10 more minutes. Now these are an hour, and I'm gonna be trying to do these. So this for the learners, this for the growers. All right. Cause I everything that God put in me, I've come to the place where I realize I got to leave it on earth. I can't take it with me. When He called me home, I want everything. I want to leave empty, so that it'll help somebody. If I'm one step ahead of you, in any area of my life, I want to be able to say, "Hey, look out for this. I just stepped right there. Whew, it almost took me out. Watch your step." That's what I'm here to do. Understand that. Number 14. Take action. Take action. So when you sit down and you have this conversation, don't just tell what you need. Ask your partner what they need. Because it should not be one-sided, because nobody is perfect. And at the end, you make sure that y'all agree to take action and say, listen, I'm going to do what you need from me. And I want to know, are you going to do what I need from you? Can we hug on that? Can we kiss on that? Can we shake on that? Can we whatever on that? Like, are we in agreement? If your partner, what else, man? What else? Relationship over. Listen, I'm cut and dry with it. This is how you have to be in your life. You got to be cut and dry with it. It can't be no games in your life. You got to stop playing with people. You know, even in my business deals, I'm going to tell you, this is what has helped my life. I let a person know. I say, listen, when I go into the account, if it's one penny missing, if it's one penny been misappropriated, deal over with. Everything we doing is done. Just like no ifs, ands, and buts about it. I don't care if we've been in business for 5 years. I don't care if we done made millions of dollars. We done. It's a wrap. It's over with. You can't play with people. You cannot play with people in your life. The reason why my wife and our relationship is perfect, and that's a big word. That is a big word. That is a big word. You hear me? But when I say perfect, what I mean by that, I don't mean that I don't get in my feelings and she don't get in her feelings. What I mean by perfect is I'm faithful to her, she's faithful to me, and we don't argue. We have discussions of what I need, what she needs, and then we take action. And so we are productive. We were just going out of the country. We didn't argue a single time for the whole weekend, a couple of days. We didn't argue a single time. We've gone from, I think, the 27th to the 3rd. We didn't argue a single time. A single time. And that is hard to do as a couple. And especially in this day and age, when everybody in a microwave society, everybody want instant gratification. Everybody comparing their life to people on other people's life on Instagram. Everybody looking around, looking left and right. It's hard to be in a relationship and to be happy and to not be arguing because of everything we got around us. But these rules that I just gave you, these rules created perfect communication, created healthy communication. Perfect, not in the literal sense of the word, but you define perfection for your life. You define success for your life. You define greatness for your life. You define excellence for your life. What's my definition of perfect may not be your definition of perfect. Your definition of success may not be my definition of success. So understand that. Don't argue semantics. When I say my relationship is perfect, it's because I define it as perfect, because I want to realize that and to see it as such. So I'm naming that, I'm claiming that, I'm speaking that. The rifts that we may have, I'm not going to see that as imperfect. I'm seeing the flaws as perfect. So it creates an attitude of gratitude. It creates a mindset of abundance, a mindset of peace, love, happiness, and joy, a mindset of contentment with the woman that I have and the relationship that I have. So our 14 years of marriage feels like, I can't even put a name on it. Like, it still feels fresh, like it's a year. It literally feels fresh because of the rules that we have implemented into our relationship. So you can't knock this till you try it. When you try it and both of you are committed and both of you are in on this, you're going to see the difference. And when you're doing these things, it produces faithfulness. It helps you be faithful because it helps you fall in love deeper. So I don't have to think about or worry about cheating. Like, I don't have to, all of my mistakes that I've made in my life as far as a love and relationship is concerned, that's way in my past, more than a decade old. It's way old because I realize I'm in control of my actions, that I get to choose what I'm going to do. My fingers are not going to DM a woman explicitly, illicitly, ill-advised without my permission. My thumbs ain't gonna do that without my permission. My thing is not going into a woman without my permission. So I realized that I cannot fail because I have the ability to choose. And if I choose to fail, that's the only way I'm going to fail. People say, oh, you never know what's going to happen. I do know what's going to happen because I know what I'm going to do. So I know I'm not going to cheat on my wife. I know I'm not going to curse my wife out. I know I'm not going to abuse and mistreat my wife because all of those things are a choice. So I understand that. I also know that I picked a good woman. I also know that if I treat her with love and respect, that she's going to reciprocate. I also do not care or think about the possibilities of her taking a stupid pill. Because if she takes a stupid pill, then that would mean she doesn't deserve me. And so I will have not lost anything. I will have gained because I would then have my freedom to move on with my life and to serve my purpose and live. But I know the likelihood of the sane, stable, amazing woman that I chose to be my wife, the likelihood of her taking a stupid pill when all I'm taking is smart pills and loving her from such, I know the likelihood of her doing the wrong thing is slim to none. Because I know as humans, we want love and we want respect. And I see women who are faithful to a dog of a man. So I know that if I can be a good man and I am the man that she wants and she desires, then I don't have to fear or fret about her doing something crazy if I'm taking care of my business and doing the right thing. So you create your life. You create your relationship. Love is not found. It is created. So you create these things through communication, effective communication. So get to that place and have the maturity, the confidence, and the courage to give this a shot, to try this, and love yourself enough to walk away. So what I was going to say is the reason why my wife and our relationship has worked is because we have the utmost respect for one another, because she knows that if she does not adhere to these rules, that I'll leave her in a heartbeat. And I know that if I do not adhere to these rules, that she will leave me in a heartbeat. So the fact that both of us know that neither one of us are playing no games, it makes us bring our best to the table. But when somebody knows that they can get over on you and that you're not about that life, that you talk tough, but you're going to just sit and cry and stay in the situation after they disrespect you over and over again, they never going to change. A person got to know you willing to leave their butt in order to get their act together and change. That's why people don't sit down to listen to you until you stand up to walk away. Hey, this is Tony Gasson. God bless you. We'll talk soon.